You probably know the story of Deborah Barak and the tent pig, right? It's a classic. But what if the victory song they sang afterwards wasn't just a recap? What if it's actually a secret spiritual battle plan, pulling back the curtain on a cosmic war that was happening behind the scenes? Okay, let's get into this. So, on one hand, you've got the story we all know. Israelite army, a brave general, and that pretty shocking tent peg ending. But then you look at what the song in Judges chapter 5 actually says, the story on the right, and it's this wild, cosmic throwdown with stars waging war, angry rivers, and angelic intervention. The human soldiers, they were barely even the main characters.
All right, so let's start there with the story we all think we know. We've got to lay that foundation before we can just completely blow it up, right?
Okay, so here's the highlight reel. Israel has been oppressed for 20 long years. The prophetess Deborah gets a word from God that victory is coming. She calls on General Barak to lead the army. He does. They win, and the enemy general, a guy named Sisera, gets taken out by a woman named Jael with, you guessed it, a tent peg. Happy ending. Roll credits. Seems pretty straightforward.
But here is where it gets really interesting. When Deborah and Barak sing their victory song, you'd think they'd go on and on about Barak's 10,000 soldiers, right? Nope. They barely get a mention. So that begs the question. If the army wasn't the star of the show, who or what actually won this thing?
And this is where the story just completely explodes into this multi-dimensional war. The song pulls back the curtain and reveals that unseen forces, and get this, nature itself, were picking sides and jumping into the fight.
Check this out. The first piece of evidence is right here in verse 20. It says, "From heaven the stars fought." Now listen, this isn't just some pretty poetry about a starry night. No. This is a very specific statement about who the real reinforcements were.
You see, throughout the Bible, the term stars is often used as a code word for angelic hosts, the very armies of heaven. So what Deborah is declaring is that literal angels shifted their formations in the heavens and waged war from the sky against Sisera. Think about that.
So, this is absolutely crucial. It wasn't just 10,000 soldiers on that mountain. It was 10,000 soldiers plus the armies of heaven. They had invisible air support from the very start. And believe it or not, the stars weren't the only unseen allies who showed up. So let's talk about the next conspirator in this victory, the Kishon River. The song says it swept them away. And again, that might sound like a simple detail, but what actually happened is, well, it's stunning. See, on a normal day, the Kishon was basically a little trickle. You could probably just hop over it. But on battle day, it transformed into a raging flash flood. The entire battlefield became a massive mud pit, a death trap that completely bogged down all 900 of Sisera's high-tech iron chariots, making them totally useless. And this is just such a powerful picture of a huge spiritual principle, isn't it? God can take something you see as small and ordinary, your little, and turn it into the very weapon that brings down your giant. That little stream became a weapon of mass destruction. But this song isn't all celebration and angelic warfare. Tucked away inside of it is one of the most chilling warnings in the entire Bible. It's about a city called Meroz and the surprisingly high cost of doing nothing. Right in the middle of this victory song, an angel of the Lord shows up and pronounces a curse, not on the enemy, but on Meroz. And why? Because they did not come to help the Lord. Their crime wasn't that they fought against God, it's that they did nothing at all. And let's be super clear here. Meroz was an Israelite city. They were supposed to be on the home team. They just decided to sit this one out, to stay home and remain neutral while the battle for their nation's freedom was raging just up the road. The message from the angel is brutally clear. In spiritual warfare, there is no neutral ground. Sitting on the sidelines when God is on the move isn't a safe position. It's actually a form of rebellion. So if the battle wasn't won by the army and some of God's own people refused to fight, where did the final decisive victory come from? Well, turns out it came from the last person and the last place you would ever expect. The song gives us this incredible, almost slow-motion replay of Jael's kill shot. First, there's the lure. She offers the enemy general hospitality, a safe place to hide. Then, the lull. She gives him milk, a comforting drink that puts him into a deep sleep.
And finally, the lunge. She takes an ordinary tent peg and drives it straight through his temple. The war ends not with a clash of swords, but with a hammer in a quiet tent. So just look at heaven's arsenal in this fight. A woman, a cup of milk, and a tent peg. These are not typical weapons of war, and that's the point. It shows that God's chosen weapon is often the very thing you see as your weakness. Your lack of status, your simple resources, that's heaven's entry point.
So how do we take this ancient song and apply it to our lives today? Let's translate this cosmic battle into a modern strategy for the fights you're facing right now.
First, you have to identify the enemy. Your Sisera might not be a Canaanite general. It might be an addiction, a mountain of debt, a toxic environment, or a persistent fear that has oppressed you for years.
So here are the 4 key principles from Deborah's song. 1. Your backup is always bigger than your battle. The stars are still fighting for you. 2. Sitting on the sidelines is not an option. 3. Your weakness is heaven's entry point. And 4. When you move in obedience, creation itself will conspire for your victory. The ultimate message of this song, the truth that echoes from then until now, is this: whatever you're facing, the battle was never yours to fight alone. Heaven has its angelic armies, its raging rivers, and its unlikely heroes all lined up. The stars have already taken their positions. All that heaven is waiting for is for you to have your Barak moment. That moment of decision when you, even if you're afraid, agree to go up the mountain and engage the fight. So this ancient song leaves us with a very modern and personal question. Heaven has its strategy ready to go. The only unknown variable is you. What is your move?